Welcome to COIS3750 Principles of Online Marketing. This is Chapter 18 of Digital Marketing Strategy. One of the main differences in online marketing and marketing in general in the 21st century is in the old days there used to be marketing, and marketing's responsibility was to grow the business. And then customer service was a separate silo, and their responsibility was to solve customer issues. Nowadays, we want a integrated content strategy, and our service goals have to be supporting of that content strategy. So we're trying to go for a much more integrated approach in a much more sophisticated environment. So one of the things that we study here are customer service principles. As you can see in the diagram, on the left-hand side, there are some elements: understanding your customer, responsiveness, transparency, empathy, knowledge, consistency, integration, and relevance. And they lead to ultimately delivering a positive result to our customers through knowing facts, responding quickly, and creating trust. So let's break down those individual left-hand side elements. Understanding our customer. Understanding our customer primarily involves research, insight, and analytics, and we take that broad mix of data and the direct feedback and we shape our strategy using that. Part of the data must be understanding the views and opinions of our customers. This part can be broken down into two core areas: trends and individual customers. Trends give us a broad view of the common issues that customers experience. They can also show us where we're doing a great job. So we analyze our data to understand how our customers are behaving at key touch points. And we look at what feedback is being received through our call center, through our email, or other communication method. So it's that analysis that allows us to understand trends. So the trends come from our data, and they can arise directly from customers' feedback. They're very important, but they're not as important as understanding individual customers. So this has become an expectation as opposed to a desire of customers. They expect that we understand their needs. We're going to look at other aspects in later chapters in greater detail. What we need is systems that allow us to know our customers, and that we can pair together things like complaint monitoring, known issue management, knowledge base, and social media integration. When we have software that has those kind of features, that is extremely powerful when it's used in conjunction with a customer database. So ultimately, understanding your customer is the most important stage in delivering excellent customer service. Responsiveness is another factor. This is a big area of frustration for customers. Again, the expectations are higher. Consumers are less patient than they used to be. They expect fast, efficient, accurate responses. Even if your response time is not going to be immediate, you can at least acknowledge that you have received the communication from your customer, and you can communicate back to them saying that I will deal with this in 2 hours. It'll be dealt with by the end of the day. It'll be done within 24 hours, whatever the time period is. They may not be happy with that time period, but they'll at least know that you've acknowledged and have set a schedule and an expectation as to when you're going to deal with their complaint. Transparency is another area that's faced increasing scrutiny in the 21st century. Another way of saying transparency is openness. Transparency has to be a core principle of customer service. Consumers are more cynical than they've ever been. They also have access to way more information than they ever did before. The result of a mistake or something that's gone wrong, it often goes viral very, very quickly. The company needs to respond quickly and be very open and retain the trust of the public. Empathy is another one of our customer service principles. The tone of voice that's used in marketing communications is an essential part of delivering on the principle of empathy. We have to be consistent across our organization, and the way we communicate should be driven by our brand. For instance, there's a couple examples of the service tone of voice that we can use for customer service. We can use a really friendly conversational tone. We're sorry that you didn't love your experience, we're going to refund your money right away. Or a more formal tone. Apologies that your experience was substandard. Your account will be refunded within the next 24 hours. Those are two entirely different tones, and probably the friendly conversational tone creates a whole better impression of empathy than the formal stiff tone, which may have been acceptable in communications in the past. Your tone of voice alone can build trust. It can demonstrate understanding. It can also create advocacy. Some consumers will feel that you're speaking to them like one of their friends. How you say things resonates with the customer. You have to be able to decide how correct you want your language to be. Do you want to use perfect English? Do you want to be a little less rigid in English language rules? Do you want to use slang? Do you want to use jargon? Do you want to use profanity? And you certainly have to be very careful with the latter. Empathy is vital. As a customer who does not feel that you understand them will become frustrated. It doesn't matter whether you actually do understand them. If that's the feeling that they're left with, they'll become frustrated. The important line that we have to manage is that while we can empathize with their position, we don't go so far as to agree that our business has been negligent or we didn't operate in the customer's best interest. That may be true, but unfortunately admitting this in a customer service environment can lead to an escalation of what could be a relatively minor issue. The next customer service principle is knowledge. This is inward-facing knowledge, not the knowledge as in knowing your customer that we've talked about before. So we need to know our business. We need to provide service by competent people that understand and are not knowing less about the product than the customer himself or herself. We also need consistency. So we've all called in and been bounced around from one department to another, received completely inconsistent levels of service, completely inconsistent information. We need, as a company, to have our service approach, have our language, have our training, documentation, the level of service we provide, the systems, everything else aligned into one consistent approach, no matter what channel the customer approaches us. Integration. Our customer service has to be integrated with the rest of our business. So our digital service has to be integrated with the rest of our service. We may be tempted in a department or in an area to get some new software or follow a new procedure and show the rest of the company how good we are. However, the customer, just going back to consistency, is not going to be pleased if they're getting radically different levels of service from different areas. So it may create competition within our company, which will cause other people to become better, but you risk having a big disconnect for customers as they experience very different levels of service from different areas. That, again, can cause them frustration. And then finally, relevance. Relevance is important. We may think of pushing our customers through a process that they don't want to follow. And we may do that in order to hit certain targets. However, giving the customers a choice of channel to use and therefore they can contact us the way they want to is going to be far more productive. It's going to create better and faster resolutions. What we want from relevance, which also means channel, is that we want our customers to be able to go through a process that they do want to follow. What we're looking to do by following these customer service principles is ultimately to, through knowing our facts, responding quickly, we want to create trust, and we want to deliver a positive result. You can see from looking at the diagram that some of the customer service principles lead into one or more of those know your facts, respond quickly, create trust. But ultimately, that's why we are adhering to these customer service principles in order to deliver a positive customer service result. We have many available service channels for digital customer service. Some are definitely overlooked. Not all are appropriate for all uses or all organizations. So what we have to do, and this goes back to relevance that we just discussed, is we have to make sure that the choice of available channels is appropriate and reflects our customers' needs. So some of these channels are online content, live chat, chatbots, voice, messaging, forums, email, callbacks, co-browsing. So let's sort of walk through some of those. Online content. We can post content to our website or to YouTube or other places on the web that solve customer issues. This is a good way for the do-it-yourself customer. It's a good way for them to not have to reach out. It works well for you in terms of not investing a lot of time into having to solve their issues when they can find their own solution. A certain type of customer is going to like that. Live chat, so also known as web chat. Often there's a pop-up window in the bottom right-hand corner on a website, and it gives you an option to reach out and to type your questions in. It works well on a couple different factors, and it works maybe poorly on some others. So some of the advantage to live chat is it doesn't always have to be on. It can be switched off. It can be a contact form at certain times of the evening or whatever. It depends on how you run your business and how your customers need that live chat to be available. It's really nice to be able to copy and paste things in, right? If I'm in a live chat and I have questions and I want to show a link, I want to drop a picture, whatever, all those sorts of things are extremely easy to do with live chat. You're using a knowledge base. The agent on the other end who is servicing the customer on our behalf can ask colleagues. They can read up, they can do research, they can transparently provide information, and you're not taking someone and putting them on hold. The chat window just sits there. It's not like being put on hold in a live environment. Regional accents, language issues, all those sorts of things that certain people have a bigger problem with than others, they're not an issue when everyone's typing in the same language. And the last big advantage for live chat is that our agents can multitask. They can be dealing with a whole bunch of different customers at once without causing any sort of chaos. And while they're waiting for an answer from the customer, they can be multitasking and taking care of another customer. So there are some disadvantages, as stated, to live chat. It may not be appropriate. Depending on who your audience is, maybe it's not appropriate. Maybe they're not comfortable typing into a window. Maybe they'd rather use a phone. Patience. If you don't respond quickly, the customer is not likely to be patient about it as compared to if you don't answer the phone quickly. Mobile. You can call someone from a mobile. Live chat doesn't always necessarily work all that well in a mobile environment. Chatbots are another approach. They're often intelligent enough to be able to solve a high percentage of issues, and there's no need for a human to get involved. This is somewhere between online content and live chat, as it is online content that's provided by a machine. Back in 2016, according to Accenture, 80% of customer engagements can be handled by bots. So this trend's going to continue. We're going to see more of this. We're also going to see more of this sort of visual IVR. So IVR stands for interactive voice response. It's been around for decades in customer service. When we're talking about it on the phone, IVR is when you hear things like press 1 for sales, press 2 for customer service. So that's your traditional IVR. Visual IVR are your chat screens and it can reroute a significant percentage of calls to chatbots and reduce resource requirements. Voice is another option. We can see an increased usage of voice in customer service. What we're talking about here are using smart home assistants such as Amazon Echo, where we may move away from phone conversations with humans, but we're still not moving entirely away from voice. Chatbots and live chat are part of the journey, but voice help through IoT, Internet of Things, devices is a growing area. It should be considered as part of the strategy. Messaging. So messaging we're going to discuss in social media, but it's grown enormously and customers hold it near and dear to their heart. So messaging apps have a very high frequency of use, and like I said, there's a high emotional connection as it is a direct line of communication. So this is like being able to use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or WeChat as part of a direct communication channel, and people can order their product or have a direct communication with the company. Forums, email, callbacks, they're all fairly common, easily understood channels that can be used. Co-browsing is two or more people sharing and accessing the same web page at the same time. Makes it very easy when you're doing that for customer service to understand the customer needs better than they would otherwise. The difference between this and screen sharing is that in co-browsing you're looking at the same page at the same time, but in screen sharing one user is looking at the other's screen. So if you can co-browse, you can offer a sort of shared experience and help without the invasion of privacy of sharing an actual screen. An area of digital customer service that continues to transform is social customer service. One of the big differences between social customer service and other channels is that it's often in a very public environment. It's a very public channel. Responses are definitely demanded quickly, just like other channels. So all the other principles that we use to apply to provide good customer service still apply here. But one of the big problems that we have, one of the big challenges, is to manage social media within the organization. So often social media is part of the public relations or the marketing team, but they may not have the skill set or the resources to handle customer service demands and elements. So should there be a dedicated customer service Twitter handle? Well, customers can't be guaranteed that they'll be using that, so it's really difficult to manage. Should marketing be in a position where they're passing along things that come in through social media that they're dealing with to customer service? And all that takes up an awful lot of marketing time. So as social media becomes more and more two-way communication for organizations as opposed to a push channel message, we're getting away from marketing having ownership of the social media accounts. So once companies sort of reach a maturity within their use of social media, they'll use that channel as a wholly integrated part of the customer service process. So another issue with social customer service that we have to be extremely aware of is amplification. So again, it's a very public channel, and with that, it's also very well viewed. And if something happens, there can be a lot of people weighing in, there can be a lot of visibility. It's not by any means a private channel. We want to explore how to effectively measure our customer service. So one of the ways is content engagement, another is hold time and abandonment, response time, first contact resolution, and net promoter score. So content engagement, when we are providing web pages for customer service so people are finding their own solutions, we want to see how effective that is. We want to see how many people are using it. We want to perhaps see likes or useful type buttons that provide feedback, so that if we're providing this content, that it is being used, and maybe we've got an opportunity to make better content or make it more useful. Hold time and abandonment is sort of traditional to call centers, but any sort of live chat can be measured this way. What we're looking at is how long people are on hold, how long they have to wait for our service, and therefore we can predict the level of frustration. I know that when I call somewhere and get told about the higher than expected call volume every single time, it makes a bad impression. Response time is more applicable to social media and email. So we want to document or measure the number of minutes that it takes us to respond for social media. Email is a slower channel. It could be hours or days. I think that the expectation is getting to be a shorter and shorter response time for email, but sort of traditionally a good response time was within 24 hours. And again, often you'll see companies set that expectation with an auto response. Thank you for your email. We have received it. We will get back to you within 1 business day. First contact resolution. This is a great way to see how effectively you're taking care of people with the very first contact, so that their problem or their issue is resolved the very first time they reach out to you. Net Promoter Score takes customer feedback and just on a scale, how likely are you to recommend, say 0 to 10, people that score that 9 or 10, we can call them promoters. They're going to promote our business. 7 or 8 are passive, and anything 6 or below are detractors. And we know that bad news tends to travel faster. So having those detractors can be a big problem, and we certainly need to measure that. Thanks very much. That's the end of the lecture for this chapter.